Most change doesn't begin with a business plan. Sometimes it begins with a question. I'm Saskia Falcon. Welcome to the Odds in Our Favour, a News 24 Good News podcast brought to you by Old Mutual Wealth. This is a podcast about South Africans who see challenges not as dead ends, but as invitations to create something different. People who build, innovate, and solve problems, proving that even when the odds are stacked, they see possibility within reach. Today's story starts in a university corridor with a simple observation. So many talented South Africans are building businesses but don't have the tools to turn those ideas into something bigger. Why does this have to be so difficult? That's the question Mia Kun and our co-founder Nathan De Jager asked, and the answer became Vendora. Mia, welcome to the Odds in Our Favour.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Let's go back first, Mia. Let's go back to before the moment at university, before Vendora existed, because often people who see problems differently have been shaped by experiences long before they start a company. Where did you grow up, and what do you think influenced the way that you look at the world?
So I was actually born in George, but primarily I grew up mainly in Bloemfontein. We moved back to George, which I finished my schooling. I think I always knew entrepreneurship was kind of a calling of mine, just based on my personality. The thought about it, though, or specifically the thought for Vendora, I think mainly began at university. I remember in my res, there was a friend of mine, and she made these really cool knitted shirts, and she was so excited when I was like, oh, I would buy one of those. And it just felt very unfortunate that nobody else would be able to find her. Like, where do you go to find people that are able to do these things? So there was the thoughts. And I think it also just sparked off like it led to other thoughts in a similar way. For example, with my mom, she can be quite chaotic, and she always starts all these little projects. And for example, she once grew so many cucumbers, like too many cucumbers, and there's like nowhere to sell them or nowhere to be seen for them. Yeah, so we really just wanted to create a space for those narratives.
And you and your co-founder, Nathan De Jager, how did you guys meet, and what do you think makes you guys such good collaborators?
We've actually known each other for a very long time. I came to him with the idea back in 2022, and we both really loved it. And we both agreed that we would make amazing business partners, just because the things we bring to the table, especially for a tech business, is almost completes the picture, especially with my background. I have a background in economics and finance, and then he's a software engineer. So it meshed very well.
Now let's come to Vendora, because this came to you, like you said, after noticing something around you at university. Was that the moment with your friend who was making these cute little knitted jerseys, or what else did you see happening around you that you thought, this is an opportunity and something that I can actually do something about?
I think the cherry on the top was I came back home for university holiday, and I have my little dog. Her name's Pip. And I really wanted to take her to the snow with me, because I've only seen the snow for a handful of times, and I really wanted to share the experience. And she's medium hair, so she'd get cold. And I was looking online, I think Facebook Marketplace, and there was somebody selling little dog clothes, and I approached them, and they were able to take my dog's measurements. I took her there. I could choose the material, and it was really cheap. It was like 200 rand, and it looked so good, and it's waterproof. And I was like, wow, this is such a great experience. There really just needs to be a place for other people to get hold of people like this. I think that was the cherry on the top, where it was like a final of, okay, we need to do something.
Now, you describe Vendora almost like a Shopify, Fiverr, and Uber Eats if they had a South African baby. I really love that description, because it immediately explains really the ambition of the platform. But why did you think that South Africa needed something built specifically for our context? And also want to ask you to just tell us exactly how the platform works.
So The Shopify part of it is just obviously because you can create your storefront. So if you want to become a store owner, for example, you can go on the platform, you go to my stores and sign up, you get vetted, and then you can create your store. It can be products, it can be services, it can be different types of products, e-products. There's a lot of variety. In terms of the customer, when they go on, it would be the same as any other marketplace. I think for the customer, the layout is similar to Uber Eats in a way. Kind of if you went to Uber Eats, you see all the stores and it's laid out a little bit similar. Yeah, and then I think it's similar to a lot of other things where you just go there, you can see the products or services and you can buy them. We do have a products page where all the products are there without the storefront. Same with the service page where all the services are listed. And same with the separate marketplace. If you don't want to be a store owner, you can sell there.
So, do the store owners have any additional tools beyond just the storefront?
Yes, they have so many. We specifically built it with our testers and we really try to include everything that they would need. So we give them like, there's basic analytics, there's order tracking, there's like, you can see how many people are viewing the products, how many people are buying the products, where they're looking. You have basic accounting where it just tracks everything, especially good for your tax. You have your order management, inventory management, booking systems with a calendar, messaging systems, really everything that we could think of, it's there.
So it's like a one-stop shop.
We really try to make it as much as possible that.
And what about options for people who don't really want to create like a whole store? Like what if my volumes are a little bit smaller?
Yeah, so we have thought about that. So that's where the marketplace came in. It functions same as Facebook Marketplace, where you can just list your product, but then obviously you have the safety of an escrow.
Right. And for customers, I mean, I think trust would probably be one of the biggest barriers for potential customers.
Yeah.
How does Vendora go about actually addressing that as a challenge?
Trying to enable people with the storefronts and all the business tools was the one aspect of it. But the other aspect of it was there is the major problem in South Africa of trust. I think almost everybody at least has been scammed or knows somebody that's been scammed. It's just way too common. And we really just didn't want to have that in our platform. So that was where the thought kind of came from. We originally didn't know about escrow, but through research, it led us to there. Escrow is basically a third-party holding account. So, for example, a customer makes a purchase. This money doesn't go to us. It doesn't go to Vendora. It doesn't go to the vendor or the store owner. It gets put in a third-party holding account. And only once certain conditions are met, for example, like delivery and it is what you have ordered, then only do funds get transferred. So there's never going to be a situation where somebody runs off with your money.
So that escrow payment system is quite key. I mean, the money is held safely until that product or service is delivered. How long have you guys been going now? And what's the response been from vendors and customers alike?
So we weren't even live like very, very short. It was a long journey of development. It's good. Most of our vendors originally were our testers. And recently we had an article done on us, which has led to a lot more traction, a lot more vetting, a lot more stores, which has been really great.
Now, building a platform like this sounds very exciting. But the reality of entrepreneurship is like much less glamorous. I mean, you've alluded it to yourself. You spent a lot of time in development. What was the hardest thing about the journey? And was there actually a moment when you thought, okay, we can actually do this?
Almost the opposite. I think we had a dream of this platform and maybe slightly naive to it because we were like, oh, we're going to get this done. We're going to do it. It's such a good idea. We believe in it. And we started it. And then a few months in, I just remember there was this moment of like, I don't know if we can do this. This is such a mountain to climb because there's legals, there's financial systems, the whole system in the background needs to work for all the automated processes to flow. So I think there was that moment where we were like, wow, this is really, really hard. And I definitely think it was hard. That would definitely be the hardest part of the journey was to build it. it's different from if you were to build an app like a game, for example. It doesn't really matter if your game fails, but with this type of system, especially with security and with trust, there's not a lot of room for failure. So we needed to make sure that there is no failure with it. So that was probably the hardest and the longest part of it.
And what do you think it was that made you and Nathan say, no, we have to keep going? Like, we actually can't give in to the overwhelming nature of the scale of this challenge.
I would actually credit that all to our testers. So what happened was we had already made almost, let's say, the skeleton app, and we were like, okay, it's still a mountain to climb. Let's just like throw it out there as a beta app and like see how it goes. So we did that. Google needed testers from us for us to do that. So we sent out a Facebook post and we were like, hey, this is kind of the idea. This is where we at, and we need testers. And yeah, there was a really overwhelming interest in it from one Facebook post. And I would say that if it wasn't for them, we probably may have given up, because then we started working with everybody and they loved it, and that motivated us. And we were like, okay, we're going to get this done. And
wealth is about more than just numbers. It's about what you're shaping, your ambitions, your priorities, your legacy. That's why Old Mutual Wealth partners with skilled financial planners to bring the expertise of a leading wealth manager to your strategy. They help you make sense of both local and global opportunities, offering clear strategic insight so you can make confident decisions, whether you're building your wealth, protecting it, or shaping your financial future. Take your wealth further.
I'm sure in order to launch a platform like this, it's very ambitious. There must have been cheerleaders, allies along the way that made you guys think, okay, these people believe in us. So besides your testers, while you were still developing, were there any people who actually made you guys, gave you support, that made you feel, again, affirmed to say we're walking in the right direction? Who would some of those biggest supporters have been along the way?
I think mainly, obviously friends and family is always like, oh, this is cool. But I think mainly it was Nathan and I walking this journey for the whole idea of like, we just want to try. Even if it fails, it's okay. Like, then you have a reference of what you can do, your skills. And later on in life, we can be like, okay, at least we did try, because we really loved the idea. So I think that was the main motivator for us, of just like, we just need to try. We want to give it a good shot and a fair shot. And it's okay if it doesn't work. I think that was mainly the biggest support of motivating us.
Because a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't fail because they lack talent or ideas. Like you guys are very good examples of that, but they actually struggle with access. So developing this platform, what were some of the biggest barriers that you guys identified? Was it like cost? So that's obviously a major factor. Was it trust in setting up and finding that payment system? Was it logistics? What would you say?
The hardest part was definitely making sure everything works correctly, securely. Over time, we did partner. For example, we partnered with Aramax, which was a big win. Costs, in terms of developing, I'd say relative to a business that needs a physical address and a lot of inventory, costs are relatively less, especially if you don't consider the opportunity cost that we would have from like having a job, or the cost that it would take if we were to hire somebody for the roles we take. So if you don't consider those, the costs are quite relatively low, especially in comparison to some of the businesses that need physical inventory and an address.
I suppose then that sounds like the biggest challenge was trying to balance all these, particularly in this trust space, balancing out how you guys were going to be addressing that, really walking in a space that not a lot of, I suppose, South African businesses have done what you're trying to do, because you're creating something completely new. So would you recommend then to other people that they have co-founders that have a similar vision, because you guys can bounce off of each other?
Oh, no, definitely. I don't know if I would have been able to do this without Nathan, even just in the sense of like all the hardships and the struggles and the challenges that you face with it. It's so much more bearable when you have somebody to bounce off with and they're experiencing the same thing you're experiencing and they go through the lows you go, and sometimes they can pick you up in your lows and you do the same in their lows, and it's definitely made it a lot easier.
From development to launching, how long was it?
It was more than a year, but it's not just with the standard business days and business hours, because we definitely worked like all hours, all days that we possibly could. It was very much we lived and breathed work. You go to bed, you wake up, you work, and you work until you go to bed again and repeat for a long time.
So now you're live in market. Tell us a little bit about the rollout. Have you guys got any awareness campaigns happening, any media campaigns? What's the plan?
Obviously, for growth, I definitely want to integrate Pandora into almost the whole of South Africa if I can. So that would definitely be the goal. Right now, we kind of starting slow, we're testing the waters, and then exponentially we would like to go. And definitely doing social media campaigns. Yeah, we're going to enter in an entrepreneurship competition in July, which is we're looking forward to that. Yeah.
So social media mainly is going to be your key channel
Yeah,
for
I think
getting the
so.
word out.
Yeah,
Because what would the
definitely.
next step be? Like onboarding more vendors?
Yeah, I'm onboarding more vendors. You do have a bit of a problem with marketplaces where you have the chicken and the egg problem of you need customers, you need vendors, and you kind of need them at the same time because vendors don't want to be there if there's not customers, and customers don't want to be there if there's not enough vendors. But our goal currently is to just focus on mainly acquiring vendors and then more focusing on customers.
Mia, what would you say you've learned that nobody actually teaches you about building a business? Because I'm sure you had an idea of what entrepreneurship was all about. You had a burning desire to be an entrepreneur, but now that you're sitting in it, so what is the thing that nobody actually tells you?
I feel like it's a thing that people tell you, but you don't really realize of, or the thoughts I've had with it is, I understand why people don't really do this very often. Like, entrepreneurship really takes a lot of grit, really a lot of grit, and it takes time to build something. And there's, I think, a lot of security in not going in the route of entrepreneurship, and you just have a really good job, and there's the stability of it, which I think really has its place. But it is amazing to build something for yourself as well. Like, I was speaking to Nathan the other day, and he was saying that less than 10% of senior software engineers have actually built something for themselves, and that's like very, like they have the skills, but they don't actually have anything that they could call theirs. So that's also something amazing, I think. Like you building, it's like your baby. It becomes your baby.
And then it's a baby that has such an incredible impact because, I mean, for South Africa, there are so many small micro businesses. I mean, how does that sit with you guys when you think about the potential of how this could change other entrepreneurs' lives?
The biggest thing for Pandora, I really just wanted to enable more people, gives them a space, an online presence. It's completely free to get your store and start up. So it's very easy to access. And then, of course, we kind of manufacturing trust. This is another thing. Like if you're a small business or you have a small side hustle, people, I think, are wary of it just because they don't know you, they don't know your business, they don't know if it's a scam. And now in Mandora, you can kind of skip that. You can manufacture trust. It's like, okay, anybody that's actually selling on Mandora and you're buying on Mandora, you know you're safe.
And it's free to set up a storefront?
Yes. So it's completely free to start a store. So we do commission, but it's very small. The payment gateway, so just to process payments, it's 2.5%. So that goes to the payment gateway. On successful products, our commission is 4.5. And then on successful transactions with services is 3.5%.
What other costs should potential vendors be aware of? I suppose data costs?
I suppose like the cost of having your own internet to run your own store. But other than the 4.5% on products and the 2.5% to the payment gateway, that's actually it. There's really no more.
So you talk a lot about creating a space where anyone, regardless of skill set or size of business, can have access to the tools that they need free of charge. What does success look like for Vendora in about 5 years from now?
I really hope that it becomes the primary marketplace you can go to. Like when I imagine it in my mind, it would be so amazing. Somebody, let's say they're going for holiday to the Western Cape or Cape Town, and they can just pull out Vendora and be like, what are all of the hotspots? What's the local talent? Like, what can they go try? And you have access to that. It's kind of like having those Saturday markets there with you all the time, whenever you want. Yeah.
And what's your greatest wish for Vendora?
I think it would become that as well, but also to really just enable people, but to become the reference or the beacon of trust of like, you don't have to worry about, oh, is this person a scam? Is this okay? Is this too good to be true? It just doesn't matter because as long as you buy it on Vendora, you're really covered. And it also enables more people because they don't have to work that hard to get trust. Again, it's like if you sell on Vendora, you automatically can have that trust because they're going to know, your customers are going to know that you will never scam them. You can't. Even if you wanted to, you just can't.
I love that. So Vendora would be a beacon of trust. I mean, that is something that we can hang our hat on from a benchmark, from a global perspective. And that would be absolutely amazing for Vendora to be the ambassador for that and homegrown right here in South Africa. My last question would be that South Africa has millions of entrepreneurs and side hustlers, but for someone who's listening today, maybe somebody who's selling cakes from home, making jewelry, offering a service, what would your advice be to them? And then for someone who is sitting thinking, I've spotted a challenge and I'm wondering what I can do about it, like, would you encourage them on a journey similar to yours?
Definitely. I mean, since it's free of cost, it's always just a thing of like, you may as well just do it. You're not going to be in a worse situation. Obviously, we're starting up, so it's not like there's a lot or big customer base, but you also get a unique link with your store name in it. So you can just use it as your online store or your website and really just make it your own. You can list your services. Yeah, and with the extra escrow. So just before we finish, I actually wanted to explain a little bit more in detail, specifically to certain situations. For example, let's say you are selling a product. So let's say a customer buys a product, the money automatically then goes into the escrow account, so the third party holding account. The vendor or the store owner immediately gets the notification that they've paid. So they don't have to worry about like, oh, they're going to make this product and they don't know if they're going to pay. Once the product is delivered and the customer has confirmed that, yes, this is the product I ordered, only then do the funds get released. So I know this seems like it protects the customer the most, but it also protects the store owner. For example, especially with services, you immediately get notified that, okay, they've paid. You don't have to worry about you doing a job and then they trying to weasel out at the end of it, which is, I think, really, really great. And even with services in the sense of from the customer, sometimes you buy a service and it's not really, let's say they do half a job. Luckily, then we have a dispute situation where somebody can approach and be like, hey, the service that we agreed on isn't actually complete. And the service provider, they can't just run off with your money. So everybody's really protected. Even with our delivery methods, we do Aramax. But there are others, like we do store delivery, where you can configure your own rates. If you want to go deliver around your city, you can configure how much you'd want to get paid per kilometer, what times you're available, what's your max kilometers. And then it's just, you click that button, you say you agree to T's and C's, and it's ready for you. And it's on verification code. So when you go to their place, you deliver, they give you the code, and that says that it's complete.
Sounds like you guys have really thought about it step to step to step. Mia, so many people see problems every day in their communities, but maybe not everybody takes the next step to try to solve them. If somebody's listening to this and they've spotted a challenge and they're wondering if they're the person to do something about it, what would you advise them?
I think just definitely do it. Like, no matter who you are or what your situation is, there are always going to be challenges in life. And I kind of try and view it as like you get to pick and choose your challenges, because even later on when we're older, yes, it's stable, it's nice. Too many people often talk about how they wish that when they were younger, they just did it or they did something because they realized when they're older, the stability then didn't matter as much as they thought it did. So rather just go for it. Just choose entrepreneurship as your challenge instead of the challenge of regret later on.
Mia, thank you so much for sharing you and Vendora's story with us today. What I love about it is that it actually started with something quite simple, which is actually just paying attention. So you saw people around you trying to build something, and instead of asking, why is this so difficult, you're asking, how can we actually make this easier? Because often innovation isn't always just about inventing something nobody imagined. Sometimes it's about understanding a problem deeply enough to create a better way forward. If Mia's story has sparked a question for you, maybe you're sitting with an idea running a small business, you're somebody with a side hustle, then the Vendora has been built exactly to solve this problem. To explore Vendora, to find out how you can start building your own digital storefront or support micro entrepreneurs, visit Vendora.tech.